Hey guys, what's going on? It's Rekt Capital and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Pi Cycle top moving average, which is now climbing up and potentially sandwiching Bitcoin's price action against this resistance zone. But we're also going to be talking about the bull market indicator, that is the 21-week EMA, which is best shown here as the green 21-week EMA, holding as a support and Bitcoin needing to reclaim this as a support going forward. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future, and let's dive right in. So the bull market indicated as a 21-week EMA, that's a key support that needs to hold. And what's interesting about that is that the Pi Cycle top moving average, 111-day moving average, is approximately confluent with that bull market indicator, the 21-week EMA. Here, when it comes to the Pi Cycle top moving average, we broke out, turned it into support in the short term. But what I was anticipating on Twitter was a midterm retest. So we've had this curling down price action and now this retest. Here we've lost this support region after maintaining it as a support for many weeks, and now we might be rallying towards the red area. This previous support area now potentially turning into a resistance, and we might be rejecting there. But ultimately, we might be seeing an ascending triangle form here with an uptrend line here and this resistance being the top of that ascending triangle. It would be interesting to see consolidation inside this area, which would ultimately resolve in a break back above this red area, flip back into support before springboarding higher. That would be fantastic ahead of September. I just don't know if Bitcoin has enough strength to do that. But thankfully, Bitcoin just needs to monthly candle close above 42K, and the Pi Cycle top moving average would be quite important in facilitating that monthly candle close. So you can see that over here, this is the Pi Cycle top moving average here that is supporting the uptrend, and you can see that the bull market 21-week EMA is going to be supporting this uptrend, though Bitcoin does need to catch up and try and reclaim this area. And this bull market support is confluent with this support that we mentioned here, which might be turning into a resistance. So you can see that there is some confluence in terms of Bitcoin's price action. The Pi Cycle top, of course, is around 40K, and the bull market 21-week EMA is around 43,000. So it will be interesting to see how Bitcoin's price action resolves itself. This Pi Cycle top moving average is going to try and support and facilitate an uptrend from these lows, whereas this bull market support of the 21-week EMA needs to be reclaimed as a support for Bitcoin to reclaim this uptrend that and overall this bullish momentum that it has recently lost. Because remember, we were seeing an early stage higher low here over the past 2 weeks, and we've lost that with this recent crash. But there is still time for Bitcoin to reclaim this level just to invalidate this as a downside wick into this region. Weekly close above here would be great, because that would effectively be a fake breakdown, and the Pi Cycle top moving average could facilitate that going forward. Because what we don't want to see is the Pi Cycle top moving average here being broken above, right? We've seen a break back above this Pi Cycle top moving average, but ultimately it needs to hold us as a support, because we don't want to see a situation where we've broken back above this same moving average only to do something like this, right? It would be quite unfortunate, because we could see some drastic selling off, although this was very much driven by the pandemic in March 2020. But let's have a look at previous. Well, this was a bear market, so a little bit different, because at the moment we're seeing a mid-cycle. But generally you can see a small deviation beyond this Pi Cycle top indicator, small deviation before ultimately losing this Pi Cycle top as a major support. That's important, because this was a resistance, really, failed support and a resistance, basically overextension. What we're seeing here is quite different. We've seen substantial price action develop above this region, and it's interesting to see how this right over here is quite similar to this portion of price action, this curling down in price action after successfully retesting it as a support. Really important that we don't lose this current price cycle support. But generally speaking, what I'm looking at overall is something like this. What we saw in the mid-cycle of 2013. A loss of this support, which we've of course had already in May, a break back above it, and no retest really. So this was quite bullish at that time. But we're actually seeing a retest in this current mid-cycle period, which is a little bit different in terms of the pi cycle top moving average. There was no retest in this mid-cycle in 2013, whereas now there is a clear retest for the pi cycle top moving average. Here you can actually see we've had a substantial lower high here, series of lower highs where we broke back above this moving average, but ultimately lost it as a support after spending some substantial time beyond it. But this in of itself is a lower high here, which only added to this lower high. And if you just focus on this period of price action, well, this is potentially the first lower high. So if we just focus on this period of price action and try to juxtapose it with this market cycle, for instance, very different, because we're effectively in this period, potentially, if you focus on the lower high here. But generally, it's difficult to say that we're in this period relative to the pi cycle, because we had an extended downtrend, really, where we haven't really seen much upside in the meantime, which is much different, of course, to the upside that we've seen here so far. What's curious to me, though, is that this is quite similar to this period, because we've seen a curling down beyond the moving average, and now we're heading for that retest. So really important that we don't lose this support, because if we do lose this support, then that would mean that we'd revisit these 30s once again, and that's quite a strong support region overall. As we've seen over the past few weeks, this is generally the reaccumulation range for Bitcoin before seeing further upside, reaccumulation range before seeing further upside, and now effectively, this being the reaccumulation range here, we're now testing the top of that reaccumulation range as a support, right? This is the resistance that rejected price here. This is the resistance that rejected price towards the bottom of that range. And now we've seen a curling down, but actually the pi cycle here, the pi cycle moving average, is actually serving as a support in an area of previous resistance on two separate occasions. A previous resistance that has figured as a reaccumulation range for Bitcoin in the past. So interesting to see this, because now we're successfully, at least at the moment, successfully retesting the top of this previous reaccumulation range. Successful retest here because there is a range high of this previous accumulation range that we're testing the top of, but this pi cycle moving average is supporting that retest as well. So a confluent area of support at the moment. Really important that this holds here, because that would be a successful retest of a reaccumulation range. And if you think about it, a breakout from a reaccumulation range does need to be retested as a support before further upside. So at the moment, price positioning wise, so far so good. We just need to see that follow through, and the pi cycle top will be a valuable indicator on just showcasing to us whether we get that follow through or not. In any case, guys, that's about it for today's video update. I hope you enjoyed this one. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future, and of course like the content if you enjoyed this one and would like to see more data science focused content going forward. Please like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel once again, as I mentioned. In any case, I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.